Know
Our
if that was
pause.
something we wanted to.
Okay, we're there now. All right. So the presentation today that Katie and Joelle will be going through is called No Such Thing as a Solopreneur: How We Succeed Together Through Networking. So Katie, I'm going to flip the slide. The mission of Start Out, since this is a Start Out event, the mission for Start Out is really to accelerate the growth of the LGBTQ plus community, drive economic empowerment, and build a world where every entrepreneur has equal access to lead, succeed, and shape the workforce of the future. All right, next. All right, so our reach for Start Out is known as the world's largest organization supporting LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs. The Growth Lab has graduated 56 companies, raised over $756 million in funding, and created over 3,650 new jobs. It has over 300 mentors. There are experts in Start Out that are experienced in fundraising, marketing, PR, company growth. There are a network of over 300 plus investors. There's countless connections through network and forum. And there are 50 plus community events per year, which this is one of those events. And of course, millions of social media impressions to inspire entrepreneurs from all over the US. Finally, I think we've got one final slide. So, supporters. Startout has a lot of sponsors, and this is just a list of the many sponsors that Startout has. If you are a small business owner or a venture capital investor, we recommend that you take a look at these sponsors first as part of our support and giving back to these sponsors that are actually supporting all of the Startout organization and the mission and all of the activities going on with businesses and LGBTQ founders. So I will turn it over now to Katie and Joelle, and they will kick off the meeting.
Nice. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Thank you, James, for that introduction to Start Out. What an amazing organization. So proud to be associated with it. And, we love that as LGBTQ people to be proud, right? So, um, anyway, let me introduce myself here real quick. So I'm Joelle. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the founder of Butch Yoga, which, as far as I know, is the only yoga and like personal growth space that is focused specifically on masculine of center queer people like butches, studs, trans masks, you know, etc. And yeah, I am so excited to be here. Oh, one thing I wanted to say also, James was mentioning about start out mentors. I am one of them also. I'm also a start out mentor, and that is just such an awesome program. Definitely recommend checking that one out. Okay, I'll pass it over to you, Katie.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for this time together today. My name's Katie, pronoun she, her. I'm the founder of Changemaker Careers, and my organization helps social impact professionals find their next job in less time and with less stress. As you can imagine, there's quite a demand for that, given all the federal layoffs, given all the funding constraints, everything going on. So if you know someone who needs some help, I actually offer a lot of free resources. This isn't even a sales pitch. I've been a social impact professional my entire career, so I'm always trying to help people who are just trying to make the world a better place. And that includes many queer folks like yourself. So excited to get into networking today and how networking can also benefit everyone, not just our businesses. So I'll pass it back to you, Joelle.
All right. So for our agenda today, very excited about what we got on the program here. So first, we're going to talk about networking as a tool for the gay agenda. Like, I feel like usually we don't necessarily think of it as such an inherently queer thing. Maybe a lot of the contexts where you've heard about networking have been more straight and boring. So we're going to talk about how to how to queer it up a little and with strategies specifically that will make networking feel a little less cringy, a little less awkward. And then we'll have some time for, if you have any questions, we'll do our best to see what answers we have. And then, probably, I think most exciting of all, we'll have time to practice together. And that's what really counts. And in practicing, you'll actually be networking, but in a kind of chill space for us to be able to not feel so much pressure about it and feel like we're here to support each other, to like refine how we're doing this. And then from there we will close it out. Okay. And
All
then
right.
Katie, yeah, take us for this slide.
Sounds good. So this slide really speaks to the bigger why behind this workshop. And it's really all about how networking can serve a purpose that's bigger, that goes beyond just growing our businesses. It can really be a tool for collective liberation. And if you're not familiar with the term collective liberation, Audre Lorde explained it best in her quote that says, "I am not free while any woman is unfree, even when her shackles are very different from my own." And that's really just to say our struggles for justice are intersectional, they're interconnected, and true freedom requires dismantling systems of oppression for everyone. So, with that in mind, networking is a tool for that. It's a tool that goes beyond business development. And the first item here is you can develop friends. You can develop entrepreneurship problem solving pods where you meet and you work together to tackle challenges in your business. You can even develop local ecosystems. So, it's a way of really growing our interconnectedness and webs of support beyond just supporting our organizations.
Yes. Oh my God, all such beautiful reasons to connect. And there's so many more still. So yes, there's all the community stuff of, how we can like uplift each other. And also, you do have a business. You do want to connect with new leads and people who you can help with your business, who those people are. And connecting with people who, maybe if they're not even your ideal like target client or audience, that they know someone who is, and they can expand your referral network, and they'll know someone, oh, you should meet this person. That's also such a powerful aspect of networking.
Absolutely. And can you all see my screen? Because I got a notification that it paused. So is it back? Okay, cool. All right, and building on what Joelle shared, you can also support other queer entrepreneurs by partnering with them. Partner with those fellow queer business owners, hype them up, whether to their face or to folks in your community. You can also promote them to your own audience if they're a good fit. I know in the business world, it can feel like a competition, but it doesn't always have to be. There's lots of ways to partner together to where we're lifting ourselves and each other up as we move our work forward.
Yes. Oh my God. Absolutely. I love that reason so much. And I have seen it a lot in my own work, like with people coming to me at Butch Yoga, and they're asking for top surgery resources, like exercises to do, like before or after top surgery. And that's not as much of my focus, but I know a lot of other queer trainers and trans trainers who are sharing that kind of info. And so, like, to be able to give those referrals, it is so awesome to be able to like share that support, especially with other queer and trans people who, like, we don't have as many resources available. So to like share the knowledge that we do have. And then part of that ties into the next point here: reducing isolation, feeling less alone in what we're going through in our personal lives, but also professionally. Of, oh my gosh, just even that term, solopreneur, it like has solo built into it. And I don't know if like you identify that way, but it can feel really lonely if you don't have a support network of other people in your life who know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. If like all your other friends have like normal kind of day jobs, it can feel really lonely. So it's so important to build up these networks also.
And then when it comes to creating opportunity and access, if you're not a good fit for an opportunity that's come your way, start speaking the names of other people who aren't in the room. Recommend someone who otherwise wouldn't be considered. And not only does that help them, but it's also a great way to grow your relationship with the person's name, like with the person whose name you're speaking as well. So again, it helps you, it helps them. It's a great way to network, to support your organization, and to support the queer community, trans community, and folks across lines of difference. So with that, I'll pass it back to you, Joelle.
Yes. So Katie already just touched on that of like supporting across lines of difference that, we talk about like being LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs. That's already so many letters. There's a lot of different things going on. And then even within those, we each have our own unique intersections of how we identify. And, like I do butch yoga, but it's like supporting business owners, even if they're not butch. Imagine that, or like just reaching across all different kinds of intersections of how we can support each other, intersections across race, across like ability, also so important. There's so many different ways that we can support each other and also bring more support to some of the most marginalized communities within our like LGBTQ umbrella that we share. Okay. All right. And now we're going to get into some networking strategies that don't suck. I think they don't suck. We can hear what you think. Because already at the just very beginning of this event in the chat, we were asking about what are some of the parts about networking that you don't like as much and that you do like as much, and something that was shared as like a really common theme of not liking as much is the way that it can feel awkward or like forced, kind of like small talk. And the parts that are most exciting are connecting with people about goals and like what really matters. So that's what we're focusing on here. So all right, got 3 words on this slide: enjoyment, growth, meaning. These are the things we're going to focus on. So let's start with enjoyment. I think one of the most difficult things about talking to a brand new person and you're just starting off the conversation is like, what do you say? That like first moment, of like, I don't know, like say something about like the weather, that's kind of safe. But so something I found is focusing on something that you enjoy about the context that you're in. Name that, and then that can be something that you can share together. So there's a lot of things built in there. It like builds that you're in like this shared context, and it's starting off on like a kind of positive note, not with like toxic positivity, but just commenting on like something you genuinely enjoy about what's going on. I think a lot of people do default to weather because that can feel more shared, but you can get a little deeper than that. Like for this event, let's say you're like in a breakout room with someone and you're thinking like, oh, what's something I enjoy here? You could say, oh, I really enjoy how this event has a focus on community and not just like getting more business. Or I really like being in a networking space that's like specifically queer. saying something like that so that it already starts to build a more authentic conversation. So that's the enjoyment piece. Okay, next up, growth. This is probably more of what you're thinking in general with like networking, of like, what are your goals? So, two parts to this growth. One, how do you want to grow? What's your goal for how you want to grow through this connection of like why you came to this networking event? You know, like you probably didn't just end up here for no reason. You know, you have something that you want to connect with people about. And then, so, okay, growth. How do you want to grow? The other side, thinking about how does the other person want to grow? Make sure to make space for them because that's going to build a much stronger connection. If you're just saying, oh, this is what I want, maybe they can help you. But if you're also taking an interest in what do you want and how can I help you with that, you're building so much of a stronger relationship right off of the bat and teaching that person from the get-go that you are someone who is there for them and who has something to offer. Okay, last point here, number 3, meaning. Maybe this should have been the first one. I was just thinking of, Simon Sinek, that guy, he talks about start with why. I see some nods in the audience. Start with why. So the growth is kind of like the what you want. The meaning part, that's why. Why do you want it? Why do you want to grow in that way? If you can let someone know that, why what you're doing matters to you, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much more impactful for them. And if you can find out why they want what they want, they might never forget you in their whole lives if you actually bring that out in them, that they will really appreciate that so much that you're like going to that level with them. So that's some of what I have to share here about how to approach networking. And in just a little bit, we will have a chance to put some of that into action. So I'm really excited for that part, to hear how it goes for you. All right, we can move it along to the next slide here. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, so now my turn to share some networking strategies that don't suck. And the big theme here is these strategies don't suck because they are strategies that you can leverage authentically in whatever way works for you. They are designed, tailored, custom made to you, and that's why they don't suck. The first is embrace a mindset shift when it comes to networking. Lose the term altogether if that's helpful. Don't think of it as networking, which is transactional and very icky feeling. Instead, think of it as building authentic relationships. And the good news is, you already know how to do that. You have plenty of great relationships in your life. So give yourself permission to make that mindset shift and also to focus on quality over quantity when it comes to building authentic relationships. All right, now is this phrase that goes, people fund people. You may have heard this before. I first came across it in the nonprofit space, actually. And it's a phrase that speaks to the fact that it takes 7 to 8 interactions with a funder to like move them down the funnel and get to a point where you can make an ask. And the majority of those interactions are designed to be creating value for the other person. And there's a lot of ways to do that, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I just want to bring this mantra almost into the space because you'll notice this phrase isn't people fund brilliant ideas or people fund based on your pitch. It's people fund people that they build authentic, genuine relationships with. So give yourself permission to focus on that and not making the world's best pitch in a really short amount of time. Pitching is important, but if you can take a relationship first approach and meet each other as humans, you're much more likely to get to your outcome. So some interactions that could be helpful to building on those 7 to 8 different pieces of adding value for someone else include things like recognizing someone for something they've done, celebrating a transition or a career achievement they've made, um, adding new information. Maybe they have a special interest. Maybe if this is really going to show my nerdiness and probably date me, but it's a queer space. Like, I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. If someone sends me an article about the Buffy reboot, we are going to be instant best friends, probably for life, almost guarantee it. Or help the other person achieve a goal, like Joelle said. Like, when you find out about their why or how they want to grow, help them do that. Play some small part in some way, and it will really go far. Now, the do it your way piece is going to vary depending on what works for you and what feels good for you. But I can say, for example, as an introvert, I really don't like large events. Like where I really shine is one-on-one. So it's a much more effective strategy for me to like do cold outreach on LinkedIn, not compete with 100 people in a room, authentically reach out, schedule a one-on-one conversation, and build an authentic relationship that way. Now, I don't avoid events. If I do go to a large event, I bring a party game called No Skips. Full disclosure, my queer friend made it. He's an entrepreneur as well, but it's designed to be a party game where you never have to skip a question because it doesn't apply to your lived experience or identity. So it's a really cool way to just be in a group of people and be like, hey, you want to play a game? And then you're asking them questions like, what food reminds you of home? Or like, what's your jam right now? And it's just an entirely different way of connecting in a space that often feels very transactional. And I'll often write handwritten notes to people throughout the year as well. Very old school, but people love to get snail mail. So there's ways to do it in your time and space and channels and in a way that feels authentic to you. And then last but not least, are you all familiar with the phrase JOMO? Okay, I'm seeing a mix. So you may have heard of FOMO, which is the fear of missing out. JOMO is the joy of missing out. Give yourself permission to opt out of networking. Does a networking event make you cringe? Don't go. I did this in B school. Queer networking and B school networking are like safe space versus Shark Tank. And I just started opting out of that. And that made my life so much better. And it's also important because building authentic relationships is really a long game. Like you're planting seeds, you have to be patient and cultivate it. And opting out of the things that don't feel right for you is a really powerful way to sustain that important work and that long-term practice. So I know I've been talking at you for like the last 5 minutes. So now it's time for me to be quiet and we want to listen to you all. What questions do you have for the group here about networking?
You can put them in the chat, or if anybody wants to raise their hand and unmute, that's also welcome. Also, if there's no questions coming up now, that must mean we did such a good job, Katie, of answering every possible question that there could be about networking. Way to go. We nailed it. So maybe we could see if anything comes up at the end, before we close out, if anybody has any questions about like how their experience goes with practicing. But yeah, it doesn't look like anybody is too inquisitive here about what's going on. Yeah, let's get set up for practice. All right. So, okay, for how we're setting up the practice. Um, are we going to, we're having 5 minutes each? Okay, we're going to do breakout rooms. You're going to be broken out into pairs. You'll have 5 minutes each. You can decide how you want to divide up the time. Do your best to make sure each person has a chance to share. That is part of the art of networking. Also, is balancing sharing and listening. And we have some different questions, some prompts for you to use if you want. And the main one that we were excited about you getting into, if it speaks to you, is sharing one thing that would change your life and that you believe is possible, that like, you know, like you want to see if like someone can help you with this. So really thinking about dreaming big here with what you want, dreaming big, but also dreaming like within the scope of what you can envision, not just like, oh, I'd like to raise $1 million, that'd be cool, you know, but like if you don't really have a plan for that, like maybe you do, I don't know. But thinking like that, of like what's something you see for yourself that would change your life, not just like, oh, I'm looking for another client or something, or oh, I'd like to be a guest on a podcast. Like what would really change things for you? Think about that. And share it and find out about someone else and see if there's a way that y'all can connect to help to realize that more. Um, yeah. So, okay. Any questions about that before we send you into the breakout rooms? Are there any questions now coming up?
Joelle, I noticed that we have an odd number of people. So I can either loop you into a break room and be paired, or we can have one break room with three. Do you have a preference?
Um, let's have a breakout room of three. I think that's good. Of you know, like people can balance that because we're going to have a couple different rounds. It's not just this one chance. We're going to have a few rounds. So remember that as we go. Oh, also remember the aside from this question, you can remember the enjoyment, growth, and meaning framework to tie that into to how you're sharing. And aside from any frameworks or strategies or structures or whatever, just be a person, you know, like just be like, hey, what's up, we're here just connecting. So um you know, do your best. Maybe that is a little awkward, maybe that's part of it, that it just is inherently a little bit awkward, but like that's okay, and we can like be here with each other through that. So all right, everybody ready? Okay. So we got our room set up and cool. Wow. I've never been on this side of the breakout rooms happening before.
It's a little creepy, isn't it?
That's interesting. Yeah.
I
Oh,
am
one
going.
person's in a room by themselves. Oh, maybe there's two people. The people in room 2 and 3 are in rooms by themselves.
I wonder if people left. I'll move them. Hold on.
Oh,
Were you in a room by yourself, David?
Here we go. I just moved you, David.
okay.
I don't know. Maybe his screen was frozen.
Yeah.
Oh no, I just moved
Oh,
David to your room, Tawana. So let me.
No one was in my room. I was in there by myself.
Yeah, so then we moved you both. There's someone in there now, if you wouldn't mind. Oh, nope, now he left. All right. I'm gonna move you both to the same room. Bear with me. Here we go.
you won't be alone. Yeah, I'm glad you were doing that, Katie. Good job. Thank you.
No problem.
Also, seems like it's going pretty well, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, the only real challenge with networking on Zoom is if you've got them randomly assigned and it keeps assigning the same two people to each other. And then they keep popping out, and then you're trying to assign them to
Mm,
someone else. And by the third iteration, it's like, okay, I don't even know who to assign you to anymore. 'Cause-
You just made a great point. I'm going to write down who's in this room now.
that's a good idea.
I
yeah,
can.
if you did the random assignment, it's usually fairly good with the first two turns in getting people assigned so that they're not being assigned to each other. But by the time you get to the third and fourth try, especially with this smaller group, it starts
Right.
assigning and doubling people up again with people they've seen before. So you might only be able to get 3 turns on this particular rotation. Um,
And should we maybe give them a little more time than we initially
you
thought?
can. That's the other thing to do is give them like 6, 7, 8 minutes per room, and that way they've got a little more time to interact, and that kind of fills the time in.
Especially since one group is 3 people
Mhm.
anyway.
Yeah. And there weren't any questions, and we had saved time for that. So we
Right.
have like an excess.
They're going to get out of the rooms and they're going to have some questions. I basically just open it up with like, what were your observations? What were the things that worked? What were the things that didn't work? And that'll kind of start a whole dialogue. When they break out of their rooms, people are going to have an opinion, which is good.
Love it. Well, I started a timer when I sent them in. So it's been about 3.5 minutes.
Did you set a timer on the rooms?
I did not see an option for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Um,
you can usually set a timer on the rooms too, where they'll get a countdown. But
Mm.
if you want to time it yourself, that's another way to do it.
I figured I would just broadcast a minute, like a message when they have 1 minute left so they know
Okay.
when.
Yeah, that'll work. I enjoyed all the points on the slides. How do we make networking not suck?
James?
Yeah, taking a topic like that and making it feel a little less dry, a little more fun. Because I think I know for me, just even like that term, like networking, it sounds so like like boring.
Transactional and boring. And yeah, like you
Yeah.
said, yeah. I used to
Yes.
do live networking, and it's it's good when you get to someone who likes to talk, and they can tell you a little bit about themselves, and then they ask for, some back and forth. It's not so good when you can't find that common thread to get the conversation going, and then it just kind of fizzles out. And if you're in a live event, then you can kind of like, start looking around for the next person to go and talk to. But if you're in a breakout
Yeah.
room, you're kind of stuck, for whatever period of time the breakout room is going to last. So,
So true. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that is something. I think that's a really good point about networking of like, especially if it's an event like this or something where you get like partnered off with someone.
mhm,
It's like you can only really be responsible for yourself.
yeah,
And you can show up the best you can and, try to connect with the person, find out what they're about. Sometimes, somebody could, it's just like not their day,
oh yeah,
or like whatever's going on, or they just have not learned about networking strategies that don't suck. So they hate the idea. So they like are checked out. But yeah, No, that's an interesting one of like, what if you got somebody who's like kind of just being like a dud, basically?
And I
Yeah.
just gave them a 1 minute
Okay.
warning.
Yeah,
So
it popped
Okay.
across our screen too.
I'll bring them back. And Joelle, if you want to share when we go into the next practice round, the link, you
Okay,
should be good for the
cool.
them choose their own adventure after we debrief.
Right. Um, yeah, I remembered about sharing the link, but then I saw the slide with that question and I was like, oh, let's let them focus on that slide. But I think it's good now to like open it up to more potential questions. Good call.
Welcome back, everyone.
So that was too
Hey.
short, just to be honest.
Yep, I agree.
For the group of three of us.
Totally fair.
That's
We'll
a
be sure
good
to extend
sign,
it.
though, I think, than if it was feeling like way too long and you were like, oh my gosh, get me out of here. Like, this is. We were just talking about how that can happen sometimes. So, no, love to hear that the connections were flowing. And as we have you all back here now, would love to hear any feedback about how that was, aside from too short, but like of anything that came up for you, anything you noticed in if you tried any of the ideas that we shared, any of the strategies, um or also anything cool you want to share that you learned about anybody else who you connected with.
Yeah, I guess I'll be the first to go. It was really cool just like getting to know Kong and Andrew a bit and then finding out that there was three Andrews on LinkedIn when I was trying to find them and then just making sure that I found the right Kong as well. Just because you never know what, especially if things get a bit murky when it becomes second and third connections on LinkedIn. And then yeah, just we were discussing what brought us to this networking event and kind of going from there. So that was really cool to um discuss that a bit.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Augie. Yeah. Oh, love to hear the connections happening, seeds being planted, LinkedIn
Yeah, so
connections.
on top of just to build on to Augie's point too, we also found out like I went to the same undergrad school as Andrew, and Augie's interested in film and I'm in LA, so there's some sort of similarity or connection there. And so and it's great. It's like that's why I'm here, is to just make connections and see where things take us. You never know what the universe has in store for all of us. And so one thing can lead to another to something bigger. And so that's just great. I love that.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. It is, you just don't know what can happen down the road from just a connection being opened up. So awesome. And to see what a small world it is too, with like different overlaps in experience and interest. So awesome. Speaking of networking, I see Tawana dropping a link in the chat. What's up? Love that. Story branding. That's cool. Letting us know what's going on. Anybody else want to share before we open up to the next round? Going once, going twice. Okay. Well, before we send you into the breakout rooms again, I'm going to share a link that has some questions for you, more questions that you can try out, see if any of them resonate with you about what you might want to get to know about someone else, or something that you might feel inspired to share. And you can save these also for later because it can be a good reference for having these kinds of conversations. Okay, so we're going to get you divided up again in new ways. And yeah, maybe we'll put a little longer on the clock this time since we have some more questions so that you can go a little deeper. Yay.
Perfect. Nicely done. I appreciate you taking the lead with that while I could have the opportunity to focus on doing the puzzle of the breakout room.
No, that's so much logistics. It is very difficult to like talk and do that, but I can really just keep talking. So good team.
Yeah, the cool thing I just discovered while I was doing this is when I have the breakout room list open, when you go to move someone, there's an exchange option. So you can pick who you want to switch, have them switch with in another room. So it's a really easy way to make sure everyone's getting matched with someone new because all you have to do is move at least one person from each room. It,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll have to look into
Cool.
that because I always have the issue of just trying to manually, or else, or if someone pops back out and they say, "Well, we were matched previously," I'll say, "Well, let's see. Have you talked to A, B, C?" Okay, we'll put you in that room.
Yeah, I'm gonna make the last configuration right now, actually, so that when they come back, I can move them all where they need to go.
I want to ask you, James, a question from the list. What's a recent win you're proud of?
A recent win. Oh goodness. I would have to say went back to Texas, where I was originally born and raised, and did not really feel homesick. So,
Emotional win.
yeah, Pacific Northwest for only 2 years, and the winters are really kind of depressing up here.
Mm,
But yeah, because I really miss the sunshine during the winter.
mm.
But I figured I was going to be a lot more homesick when we went back, and nope. How about you,
Nice.
Joelle? What was your recent?
I would say for me, something that feels like a big win recently is restarting my podcast. And I've been interviewing people, and it's been awesome. I'm doing an interview tomorrow, and I've got another one like that I have ready to edit, and it has been so cool. It's really it's really like power networking is what it
Mm-hmm.
is, because instead of 5 minute breakout, you have an hour long breakout. I choose people who I'm like, I think you're cool, I want to talk to you, let's talk on my podcast. Then we have an hour long conversation that gets amplified by like sharing it with other people. It's really very exciting. So yeah, I love that.
Did you take a sabbatical from it for a little bit? You were doing it and then stopped and then started
Yeah,
again, or?
so it was supposed to be like a 3 week hiatus. It ended up being like a year and a half or something. You know how it goes. But the thing is, getting back to it. So it was very big for me to get back to it. I had been thinking of it since like the beginning of this year, but just in the past month that I actually
Mm-hmm.
making it happen. And when I
And
did it before, what were you gonna
what's the
say?
level of effort? I mean, is that, I guess since you're kind of used to what it requires for preparation and then the actual presentation, and then, I mean, I imagine it gets easier as you keep doing them, but is there still a lot of work that goes into them?
Um, Sure. I think in certain ways, yeah. It's definitely, I would say, probably got to be a lot easier now than it used to be with some of the like editing tools that are available now that seem to make it like a lot easier. And um yeah, the preparation depends. So when I was doing it Before, it was just me. It was not an interview show. I would like pick a topic. And so then it was actually a lot more preparation because I was planning out what I was saying. And each podcast was like its own like presentation on like different spiritual ideas. But the interview, there's some preparation of thinking about like what kind of topics to talk about, but it feels very organic overall, I'd say, to do it. And maybe most of the work is after it's recorded in editing, doing the description, uploading, promoting, all of that kind of stuff. But
Wow.
yeah, it's cool. It's a great thing to do. I highly recommend having your own podcast. It, I would say, overall is like ridiculously low barriers to entry for
Yeah.
as impactful as it is.
Did you just develop your following through podcasts, or did you have like a whole following before that? And then you said, we're going to start doing podcasts.
I had a following already,
Okay.
mostly on Instagram, and it was like having a podcast now. Um, but yeah, also it's on YouTube. I am growing my following there more. So yeah,
What is your podcast? I want to take a look.
it's called the Butch Yoga Podcast. So
Butch Yoga Podcast. Okay.
yeah. Most recent interview that's posted with Onika Mays.
Okay.
Super powerful interview. She's a yoga teacher who she worked in Rikers Penitentiary for like 10 years, being like a mindfulness coach to prisoners there. And it was a fascinating conversation because also she's an abolitionist. She doesn't believe in prisons, and she's like
Uh-huh.
working in a prison. So it was a really, really cool conversation, went super deep into themes of like collective liberation and being queer in spaces that are like, not queer spaces, not only prison, but like yoga spaces and stuff like that. So yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, that is
was
interesting. And I imagine it's kind of teaching people to kind of deal emotionally with themselves and their feelings and their so that they act in more constructive manner towards life and the challenges of life versus a destructive manner, which some of them are kind of just in that zone because of the way they were raised or whatever else has happened in their lives that can be so destructive. Um,
oh, exactly. No, you really nailed it there. That is so how it can be in society.
oh yeah,
Most of like mainstream society is not about processing your emotions in healthy ways. Welcome back, everybody. We're just having our own little conversation over
Nice.
here. Yes, we were getting into some of the networking prompts and having our own little convo. Super fun. Would love to hear how this round went for you. Any exciting connections bubbling up, or any questions about like just this process?
It was cool. This round was a bit easier. I got to chat with Amy, and then we found out we had a commonality of having our own YouTube channels. I also am the president of the board of directors for a local nonprofit here in Chicago. So I also launched their YouTube channel. And so, yeah, we had like some mutual discussions about that. And then, me being a videographer, just like how I feel about AI and adding that into my workflow and process, and how if I want to like help other folks get into that bandwagon. And I've only used ChatGPT really to do prompts for my scripts, but when it comes to actually adding it into my workflow, I've yet to like really tap into that, but I plan on doing that and then seeing how it could help out.
Yeah. Awesome. That's so cool. Sounds like a very interesting conversation. So relevant for what's going on. And it's some of the best AI tips that I've gotten have been like in conversations like this of someone just telling me about what they use. Because there's so much stuff out there. And actually hearing directly from someone, oh, hey, I've used this. This has been helpful. You're just getting different insights can be, yeah, just like boom, just getting like that one little like tip that could really change things. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Augie. Love that. We were talking about YouTube channels over here too. Big topic. Love that. Okay. Anybody else want to share?
So Tawana and I connected, and I learned a little bit about what she does. And Tawana, you're feel free to jump in, but the power of storytelling is so inspiring. I think when we're connecting with people, it's also nice to, tell a little bit about, what we do, who we are, but also, um, come up with a short story like that's memorable. And what was the other word you used? I can't remember, Tawana. It was memorable and
Yeah, just so that you separate from the noisy competition is the main thing. And you're just
right.
not drowning out there in the competition, and elevate so that you're not invisible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really cool.
Awesome. Yes. Love that. Great, great thing to think about for networking of what is your story? How are you talking about yourself to others? Like what's your narrative?
Well, I'll toss something out because I just wrote a note, and based on a couple of networking calls I was on today, and I wrote a note saying, what can I sponsor? Um, and so what I'd like to do, and you can think about it, Joel, but I'm more than happy to do a special workshop for this community on story branding. I would love to do that,
Nice.
and just, maybe 30, 40 minutes, let everybody learn about it, invite your friends and all the coaches and small business owners that and we can just jam on it for about 30 minutes. So yeah, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to do that, just as to serve the community.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Thank you. That is such a generous offer. And we are always looking for new programming to help other LGBTQ entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for
Of
sharing
course.
that. I made a note. And love people doing some self promo here. That's also part of what networking is, being able to hype yourself up, hyping each other up. It is just sharing what you want to offer to the world, like that makes it so much more possible. No one can know if you don't tell them. That's something I've been working on a lot for myself of like actually talk to people about what I do, talk about my work. So, yeah, it is so good to be in a space where it feels more encouraged. Okay.
Can I just add something to that? I think it's
Yeah.
so, I'm a business strategist and life coach, and part of what I do with my clients are trying to get them to tap into their purpose, their sense of why,
Yeah.
and leverage their gifts to truly shine in the world. Because I believe we need more light in the world, light in a sense of inspiration, motivation, impact to those around us, and the communities that we're part of. And so I feel like there's not enough of us doing the work that we love doing. And I think what Tawana and I we were talking about during our one-on-one was how can we be of service to others? How can we make the greatest impact using our gifts, doing what we love doing? there was there was a statement you said. It was doing. You mentioned the runner. Say that again.
Yeah.
The
So
runner.
I told Kong, I said, when I'm doing what I do for my clients, I feel the pleasure of heaven. That
Pleasure of heaven.
the
Yes.
pleasure of heaven. And
Yes.
because
That's
I know
beautiful.
I'm in my lane doing exactly what I'm born to do. And if you ever saw the movie Chariots of Fire, Eric Liddell, he was a runner for Great Britain during World War II or before World War II. He said the same thing. He said, when I'm running, I feel the pleasure of heaven. And so few people have that. And so, I think it's important. And what's beautiful is that when I help my clients really tap into their story, they come to realize that everything they've gone through isn't for nothing. I like to say, hey, with all the hell you've been through, you should be a statistic, but you're not, right? So why not take that hell and turn it into cash? And so that's what I help people do with their story.
Oh my God. Amazing. Amazing. I love these perspectives. So transformative. It's really so powerful what we can do when we tune into our stories, tune into our sense of who we are and what we want, and share that with others. That's really what this is about. Sharing it with others and making the space for them to share it with us too, and like uplifting each other in these just like mutually supportive kinds of ways. So I I love to see that. Um, all right. As we are getting ready to close out, Katie, anything else that you want to add here? Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's get some LinkedIn links in the chat. I'm going to drop mine in here too. I love that. Let's all link up on LinkedIn. Oh my gosh, I just published my first article on LinkedIn last week. So y'all can please go like that. Um, leave a little comment. It was, I'm excited. I'm like, I have not promoted myself so much for, talking about networking. I'll just share that the article is about an idea that I made up, but you might connect with it. It's called self-rebossing. Self-rebossing. So it's like self-reparenting, but for your relationship with work, which if you're all entrepreneurs here, I can imagine you've had some bosses in the past who you said, okay, this is not the lifestyle for me. So a way of like rethinking your relationship to work and like showing up as your own boss.
Joelle, I have to drop for client calls, but just
Okay.
abundant blessings to all of you.
Thanks, Joanna.
Hope to
Looking
see you
forward
again
to
soon. Bye-bye.
connecting more. Okay. All right. So many links here. We can all make sure to click those before we close out. I'm like clicking
Make sure to
away.
click them. So good to meet you all. Thank you for being here and great job just investing in yourself and your own like skill development and in your own community building time. It's really important. And I hope you're giving yourself a lot of kudos.
Thank you all so much. Have fun, keep networking and enjoy it. Find the meaning. You got this.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Take care, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.